So, how have you been? Because I know we've like chatted and messaged back and forth since like the solar eclipse and whatever. But you've felt a bit like out of whack, haven't you? And I've felt a bit out of whack. How has it affected you?
I was ill like over the eclipse, and it's
Mm,
annoying, man, because I'd heard of it might have that effect on people and stuff, and I'm so aware of how like I'm creating my own reality, or at least my own like reality tunnel. I just hear like people like my mum got randomly sick, a couple of my clients having like vomiting and stuff like that, like and
mm,
other things exiting the other end. I didn't have that, thank God, but I definitely had some kind of cleanse. My body just started to detox. That's what I believe illnesses are. It's just the body detoxing from all the
yeah.
poisons. I'm a fan of like terrain theory over germ theory. But aside from that, yeah, emotionally as well. For me, the two kind of come hand in hand. I feel sometimes I get mouth ulcers when I get run down, so that
Mm,
obviously has an effect on my emotions because I've still got it, but I can, it's not super painful at the moment. The
yeah.
big mouth ulcer on my tongue. So yeah, but aside from that, I'm kind of on the back end of it now, and I've had a couple of nice, real nice shifts in perception, or you call them downloads.
Mm,
Uh, so yeah, it's good. I'm on like it's always waves, man, isn't it? Like
yeah.
we talked. Oh, we didn't record that last conversation we had a catch up, didn't we? It was quite a deep
Yeah.
chat, obviously, naturally,
Yeah. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
like contraction and expansion, and that's what energy does, isn't it? To experience it, just goes up and now contract and expand. So yeah,
Yeah.
so now I'm kind of been contraction, now it's expanded out, and I'm experiencing that openness.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. Where are you, like physically, health, like with your health and energetically?
I had real issues with my stomach for quite a few days.
Mm.
And I can't remember what night it was. Oh, I think it was maybe the Tuesday night after, I think it was after the solar eclipse, the Tuesday night. I was just awake like from 1:30 in the morning. And then for the rest of the day, I had to phone in sick at work. I was just absolutely like knackered and I was just being sick. And oh, yeah, I was just absolutely wiped. I was just so wiped, so tired. Um, then I started getting like a bit of a sore throat. A few days later, that's all subsided. Stomach thing now is all subsided and calmed down. Um, and I just felt so just whacked, just so tired. Just felt so drained with it all. It seemed to be. I don't know if it was psychological or subconscious stuff that was going on. I don't know because obviously when you read a lot of stuff about it, sometimes you store some of that information ready for something to
Yeah,
happen. And I'm like, is this something that's like sort of subconsciously just being stored and now I'm processing it, or is it something actually to do with that? So I really don't know, but you can't really call it a coincidence because there's been that many people that have been kind of like have felt something or been affected on some level that it has had an effect on some level. So, but yeah, but now I'm feeling okay to be fair now. I'm still a little bit tired. Um, but other than that, I'm all right, really.
mm. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what goes on with? I have so many like questions, and I've listened to so many people talk about the moon, the eclipse, and what it
Mm.
actually is. People saying like it cannot be the moon that passes over the sun because everything wouldn't go dark if it was the moon and stuff like this. And it may be a topic for another day, something that we'd need to maybe like research and whatnot before chatting about it. But yeah, on social media, a lot of people were talking about, oh, there's going to be this event and that event, and yeah, I'd message you. I've just been up the park watching the sunset and like just sun gazing. Oh wow,
Mm.
it's so beautiful. Every time I do it, I'm like, why don't I do this every day? Do you know?
Mm.
I feel so good, so
Yes.
good doing it. And yeah, while I was doing that, I was kind of there sun gazing. Oh, being great. And then got on my phone, started scrolling on Twitter, and had a download or an epiphany. And I was like, I mean, I know I'm addicted to social media and like definitely the phone scrolling and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I was reading the tweets and they were talking about news events and whatnot, and even like football. People are all like, they're all polarized, of course. You know, there's
Yeah. Yeah.
seldom you find a tweet where someone is just speaking from the heart or from a centered place. You know,
Mm,
it's always
mm.
polarized, isn't it? And I just realized I was like, and I messaged you and I was like, oh man, how have I not realized it's how like mind controlling social media is? Because that all our thoughts are.
Mm.
I'm so conscious and aware of my thoughts normally going about my day, and then I'll just suddenly jump on social media and just be like, and it's doing the thinking for you, isn't it? When you read something,
Yeah, yeah.
it's having whatever effect it has on your body mind,
Mm,
which then interacts with your field, of course, as it provokes like an emotion, and it creates a train of more thoughts. You're literally creating your reality from
mm.
it. So yeah, so I messaged you and I was like, mate, do you fancy talking about like social media, technology, and like our addictions to that? What's your experience with social media
Yeah, it's
in
it
general?
is it's not brilliant. I've always had like an altered vision of it and always thought there's something more to it than just being social media because it's not social at all. It's actually the opposite. It's making people go um away from each other rather than actually interconnecting with each other because there is no human interaction anymore. It's all AI automated messaging, and that's why, I'd said this probably about 20 years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, when you started seeing a lot of these youngsters that were having issues with social anxiety and they couldn't express their emotions and they couldn't speak to people and they couldn't talk. It's because, it's been conditioned out of them. They don't know how to talk to people anymore. They don't know how to engage. They don't know how to react. They don't know how to behave. So on the back foot of all that, you get all these behavioral issues and social issues because they're so away from being human and being a social being and being able to interact in a certain way. And even with the likes of you know thumbs up and laughing faces and the emotions you can give to things, it's not real. None of it is real. It's all just an illusion. It's just utter like crap. And for a long time, probably in after probably after the year 2000, there was a lot of talk of because a lot of people going through this like a sort of awakening process, and there was a lot of talk of the Antichrist, or the devil or Satan or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people that I was talking to, and me included, we all thought that maybe the internet or social media was that aspect because it was so negative and so dark, and there wasn't, although there was stuff in it that was light and you can share stuff, which is nice. But what would you rather do? Would you rather actually just see a picture of nature, or would you rather be outside and actually experiencing nature? It's two totally different things. And it's just putting people into just pigeonholing people really and just sticking them in a box and not able to experience the fullness of life and the fullness of themselves. So yeah, so I mean, so it serves its purpose and it does what it needs to, and it's very easy to get swept away with it. It's very easy, that's why they're called TikTok, because you start watching the videos and before you know it, you've lost 3 hours of your day. And then people complain that they haven't got enough hours in the day to do stuff. Well, hang on a minute. If you take away that 3 hours that you've just sat binging, watching like crap on your phone, you might actually have time to do the processing, do the healing work, do whatever you need to do for yourself to it. So it's very clever, and it's very insidious in the way that it works. It creeps into your
We are
life.
we are on such we are insidious was the word that was next word that was going to come out my mouth. I swear,
Yeah.
I was like, it is insidious. It
Insidious.
and it really it's a beautiful word. It really is insidious because
And even the word
even
insidious, you can feel what it means. You just say
yeah,
insidious,
yeah.
it just feels, ugh, you know.
It yeah, insidious, distorted is another word for me that comes like it's insidious is very distorted. And yeah, oh, as you were speaking there, my mind was going off in so different directions of where we can like take this conversation. Um, but it's insidious, and for us to be here speaking about it now, like I'm addicted to it, do you
Mm,
know? And I have an awareness of being addicted to it, and I don't want to be addicted to it,
mm,
do you know? That shows you how insidious it is,
yeah.
because like what am I doing? I'm aware of it, but
Mm.
it's I don't know how it works, how they've tricked the brain, like the dopamine receptors. But I would bet it's more addictive than a lot of class A drugs. I don't know if they've done experiments on
I would
these
think
kind
it
of
probably
things.
is. Yeah, I would quite agree with you on that one. And it's for me, it's all to do with the frequency of the LED in the screens. So the
Shit,
the
yeah.
LED screens, the flicker, there's a certain frequency within the flicker that starts to control the thought and control the brain. So there is that. So if you have that frequency and if you're on it for a long period of time, it affects your mental health and your overall stability, I suppose,
Mm,
in life. And that's why LED lights have become heavily used because they know of the effects on the human condition and the psyche of the human condition. Street lights now is all LED. TV screens,
mm,
LED. It's all got a function. And then you throw in the other frequencies such as like Wi-Fi and 5G and 4G and all that stuff. It's yeah, there's
mm,
the thing is as well with it is you can't really pinpoint it to one thing. That's what's really clever about it. And it's like the whole system. It's like the whole system that is geared around the 3D cage structure. You can't
mm.
say that it's one thing that is having that control, that level of control, because
Yeah.
all of it has that level of control, and every part of it sort of weaves in and out of the next bit. And that's the same with social media. Yeah, and I mean, even the people behind it, Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and Google, what's his name, Bill Gates, all those people that are behind it
Mm.
all. When you start looking into like who they are and what they've done and where they come from, and yeah, it's not really got the makings of a brilliant thing, which really it could be something really beautiful. And it could be something really
Mm.
positive if it was used with the right intentions, for sure.
I I think you're definitely onto something with the LED thing as well. I think that could be a big component because I've been thinking, how do I stop being addicted to
Mm,
this? And my brain goes, well, just be more productive, do more work, do more, invest more time into your business, or go out and exercise, or do this, do that. Um, and I've tried those things, but because my work because it's all interlinked with my work, I'm on my computer to work. So then it's always there. It's kind of
yeah,
like if a drug addict is like, or let's say an alcoholic's like, I just want to focus on my work. I want to stop drinking, but his work is in a pub. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
it's ex
very difficult to
yeah,
be around it.
yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
exactly that. It is exactly that, and again, that's another reason why it's so big because most people that want to try and step away from the matrix having to use social media and having to use the internet and having to,
Yeah,
and that's how most people make their a lot of people make their living is online. So then
yeah,
they
yeah.
have to be stuck to it. That's how they have to live their lives. And it
Mm.
just it just seeps into every aspect of life. I mean, even when I was, God, I mean, I didn't have a mobile phone till I was in my late teen. I'm probably maybe 18, 19. I didn't want one. Um,
Mm.
and then my parents had got me one for one Christmas. Um, and like, so I was just like, oh, okay. And I'd like probably about a week before that, I was just saying, oh, I wouldn't want one given, you know. And then they got me one. I was just like, oh shit, I shouldn't really said that. But yeah, so but then like I suppose when you first get one, it's kind of like it's the novelty of it, and you think, oh well, you know, you can only do so much with it back then. You can only text, you can only call, but gradually, all the little things that they use just start eking into your everyday life.
Yeah, and the screens, like the screens started off really small, didn't they? And
Mm,
then the light they were emitting clearly wasn't
mm,
LED, like it was just I don't know what type of light it was. But then the
yeah.
screens get bigger and bigger, don't they?
Mm,
And it just kind of like sucks you in, like sucks you into like a film. It's yeah, crazy, crazy. And with man, I can't stop thinking about the light. I think the light is a big, big thing, a
mm,
big thing. And the difference of how you feel. One thing is what you consume, obviously, and like um the stuff they push, the algorithms, it's all very like lower chakra kind of stuff. That's one side of the agenda. But even if you were there just on, and I do this actually, like I'll watch things which are either, spiritual or very like talking about non-duality or something like that. It should be high frequency. I don't come away from the screen feeling as good as I feel like just now when I've come back from the park and I've been
mm.
sun gazing. Like it's
Yeah,
just incomparable. So I
yeah.
think that the light is a
I
lot more
always
important
feel
than
I always feel really fuzzy headed. So if I've been doing a lot of like, so
mm,
because I tend to try and plan my posts. So I use the planner on Facebook for social media. So if I've been doing three, four, five posts for like the next week, by the end of it, and I've been writing, I've been doing, I don't know, writing up a YouTube video or description or whatever. After that, my head is just like
mm,
buzzing. My head's just, and it's just my ears are like ringing, and my head's just like, oh God, my third eye is just pulsating, and it's just like this doesn't feel good. Um, when you're stuck in that.
no, no. And they definitely, I mean, obviously it started with television, didn't it? But like with the
Mm.
collective mind control,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think they would have been able to get away with what obviously happened with from 2020. Like
Mm,
they would never have gotten away with that if it were just on televisions. They
mm,
had to have that element of social media as well,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
to
yeah.
brainwash people. So there's definitely something to it. And I'm always thinking of solutions now. I'm kind of like, well, what is the solution? And I'm wondering if it is around the light, because you don't want if you just picture this, right? You've got like a dark room, just candlelight, fire, beautiful.
Mm,
The last thing you want to do is turn on your phone and go, look at that LED light. You
mm,
don't want to. After like 5, 10 minutes, you're just like, yeah, I'm good. I want to stay like this. Oh, this is beautiful. I think
yeah.
the thing that calls you back to it is it's the false sense of connection you get. And
Mm,
like you said, they call it social media. And I'm wondering if we should like consciously start to rename it social media because it's really not. I think you could get away with this being social media because it's a medium for beings to be social,
mm.
It's do you have the illusion of it at least? But maybe we should start, yeah, like renaming what social media, because it's not that. It's one of
Yeah.
those like I don't know what the Orwellian term would be, like double think, or not quite a double think, but like it's new think, isn't it? It's this like new
Mm.
language, renaming stuff. Like this is social media. So you're
Yeah.
unconsciously being like, oh, I wanna see my friend, I want to chat to my friend. I'm gonna go on social media. And you end up scrolling on fucking TikTok or on YouTube shorts. They've all got the short form videos now, like bam, bam, bam. And you come away from it, oh, just
Mm.
gnawed at by yeah, demons. It feels horrible. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it lowers your frequency for sure.
Yeah. And some of it, like the really heavy stuff, it really pulls you in. It really pulls you in, and you can feel that drain when it's like the really heavy stuff. And that's why I just try and stay away from a lot of it. I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm guilty of watching like videos and daft stuff and scrolling and what have you, as we all do, but yeah, I try not to get sucked into it because I just know and I can just feel that it's doing something
Mm.
that's not very, very nice, not very pleasant. And you know, like you say, you never come away feeling elated or, like in a
No.
nice high vibration. You always feel like you just feel stuck, like the energy is just stuck here in the
Mm.
head, and you just come
Mm.
away just feeling drained from it.
Yeah, there's a heaviness to it. Yeah, like you said, like a fuzziness.
Mm,
You feel off. I feel often like annoyed with myself, or like or icky. Do you know when you've done something that you know is not good for you, that you know
mm,
like you shouldn't be doing
yeah,
necessarily. Similar to eating or binging, like binge, and it's so interesting we use that word binge for both like eating
mm,
food and then binging on social media.
yeah,
Um, that's very telling that we just overconsume. It's an overconsumption of
yeah,
something often like you seldom binge on broccoli. Do you know what I'm saying? You binge on something that's not good for you.
yeah, yeah.
You binge on, you binge on something that your body doesn't
That's the
actually
interesting
want.
thing is if it's good for you, like if it's healthy and it's good for you, you actually feel fuller and you don't want to eat loads of it because it's actually you're getting what you need from it. When it's not good for you, you will just
Mm.
eat and eat and eat or consume, whatever it might be, until you just absolutely just like, oh, I just can't take anymore. You just so like pizza or McDonald's or KFC or all this stuff you buy in a bucket or whatever. You just like you just eat and eat and eat until you can't eat anymore, and then you just in that sort of like docile, heavy, compliant state where you're just like, oh, I just need to go to sleep, and that's very much the same thing. I think that is very much the same effect that you get from um, highly processed food and junk foods and fast food.
Mm.
You get that same sort of, not so much in the head, but just in the body, just like, oh, just drained. Because your body's just saying to you, what the fuck is this you're putting in my body? It's just because it's not good for you. But if it's something healthy, like
Mm.
an apple or an orange or vegetables or whatever, you don't need a lot of it because you're getting what you need from it. It's doing what it needs to do, and it fills you up quicker. Whereas all that other stuff is just again, it fills your head full of the chemicals, all the sugars, all the grease, the calories, the fats, whatever it might be. It's doing exactly the same thing. So it's very much the same sort of
Mm.
ilk, I suppose.
Yeah, like we said, it's you can't really pinpoint one thing and be like, yeah, the
Mm.
problem with society is that they are spraying toxic chemicals in the sky. That's the one problem. They're like coming at us from every
Oh
single
yeah, yeah.
uh angle.
Mm,
And it's kind of, I'm feeling like I get the urge to, I want to sort my diet out. I want to stop being addicted to social media. I want to do this, do that, do that. And I'm thinking, I think the only way you can go for it is to kind of pick one demon. And I say the word demon, by the way, I'm not like saying it in a very polarized way necessarily. Okay,
mm,
I think this is very important to kind of touch on. You know, if you're gonna change something, like something you're addicted to, you first need to like sort your relationship out with it and
mm,
start bringing it into a more centered kind of frequency. If you can change anything, you have to change it from this position. You can't be in like polarity. You
mm,
know, you can't get rid of. It's like with emotions, right? You can't get rid of anger by demonizing it and saying, I'm not going to be angry. I don't want to be angry. Like it stays there and then it
mm,
like karmically pulls in scenarios that makes you angry. So with this as well, I'm like, okay, right, how can I first of all like depolarize my view of social media, for example, say it is what it is, become at peace with that, and then just go one thing at a time, you know. So now I'm like, okay, how can I be okay with it, with what it's doing? So I'm pretty much there. I'm pretty much okay with everything that transpires. Um, but obviously on a deeper level, something in me is not, you know, something there's still some polarization there, else I wouldn't be attracted to using it,
mm.
you know. So I think maybe what do you reckon about that? Like how can we approach or how let's say I'll talk about myself. How can I approach that? Like to not be addicted to social media and scrolling and whatnot. What do you reckon? Like how would you approach how are you approaching it for you know for yourself, or is it something you're not really
Well,
too
I
bothered about?
suppose that,
But for me it keeps coming back to my consciousness. I'm like, okay, this is something, you know, it always comes
yeah,
back round, isn't it? Like whether it be a big karmic lesson or just a little kind of thing like this, you
yeah.
keep becoming aware of it until you get to a point where you're like, all right, yeah, fuck this. Do you know what? I'm evolving now. I'm done. I'm
Mm,
done with experiencing this.
yeah. I suppose like really the main part about it about is just having an awareness of it, which is what you already have. You already have the awareness that you have an issue
Mm.
with social media, with scrolling, and because a lot of your time is spent doing that. So you have that awareness of it already. So that you already have an advantage over a lot of other people that just have no awareness of the way social media is formed and why it's formed and its uses, not as a media for social means, but or more as a media for mass control and thought control and emotion control. So you already have an
Mm.
awareness of that. Um, Moving beyond that
Yeah.
is for me is just being sometimes if I use it too much, I just kind of like something goes like click in my head, or I'll just feel that heaviness, and I'm just thinking, right, okay, I've done too much of it now. Put it down,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I make the conscious effort of either putting my phone on the other side of the room so it's not right next to me,
Yeah.
or because I've even found myself even when like kind of if I'm meditating or if I'm doing self healing with Reiki. Um, I now have to put my phone into do not disturb because I find myself always getting distracted by the vibration. I'm just like, no, you know,
Oh yeah,
so
man. The conditioning of it is it's just the whole thing is just insidious is the only word that comes to mind,
yeah.
man. Everything
So
about it.
it
The
always
conditioning,
creeps
the
in.
vibrating, little
Yeah,
sounds, ding, the
yeah. Always.
notifications, the way they pop up and it's red. Oh,
And again, that's psychological conditioning. You know, it's like you know, when someone gets like a text message that, oh my God, who's texting me? Oh, who's this ringing me? You know, it's just straight away. rather than just thinking, you know what, if it's important, they'll 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 get in touch with me later, they'll ring me later, they'll keep ringing me. But the majority of people are straight on it straight away because they just feel like it's the ping noise, it's the notifications, it's the sounds, it
Yeah.
just sucks them in. Oh my God, someone's showing me attention. Oh my God, someone sent
Yeah,
me a
yeah.
message. And it's that longing for um attention. And maybe that's something that we subconsciously, when we're putting stuff out there into the world for people to see, maybe there's an aspect on an egoic level that I want to put this out there to get the response from it, and we'll feed off the response. So it makes us feel better inside because, oh, that resonated with them, that they felt something from that, or they'll give you good feedback, or they'll give you a nice message. So there's something internally is using that on some level. Um, so yeah, but again, I don't think you can really pinpoint a way of getting around it because so many of us are conditioned to use it with work and how we operate. It's like, if, usually when you have your own business, you never really have an off switch unless you're extremely disciplined and you just say, right, I start now and I finish now and that's it. And if any inquiries come in, they can wait till I'm next back to work, which might be, if it's on the Friday, it might not be till the Monday. Most people that have their own business don't do that. They don't operate on that level because they're always thinking of social media posts, what they can put out there, how they can advertise themselves, new ways of rewording it, new ways of making people understand things better. So you're constantly thinking about it. And that in turn again pulls you back into it because then you have to create all that content. So it's really, really difficult to do that, to just step off. And I know my Reiki teacher, probably about a month or two ago, he sent us all an email out, an announcement, and said, just so you all know, there's nothing wrong. But from this date to this date, I'm turning my phone off and I'm not having any connection to anyone through my phone because it's just ridiculous. It just takes over your whole life. And he said, before you know it, the whole day is gone and you've just been texting people. So he actually did that for probably about 4 days. He just turned his phone off. And he said, wow, felt like so much better for doing it. Felt clearer, more clarity in the mind and stuff. So yeah, but until you actually do it, you won't know.
I I think the answer, like, is you're speaking, then the answer is to, because you're speaking about business, and like obviously sales is one of the things with business, and like posting and get people attracted, and people won't buy unless they're like they've got that real want to, real desire to. So people talk about, like, talking about the pain points, for me, like
Mm,
teaching languages. Well, what is it like, when you go to Spain and you can't speak the language? Like, you have to kind of remind them of that. So
mm,
then they're like, oh yeah, it's horrible. I don't like it. You have to put them in that state of when they're actually in the scenario that
mm.
reminds them why they need the product or whatever. So I was thinking, I think I need to do the same thing with myself, actually look at the insidious nature of it and really get deep into it and realize what it is. Like, what is, can we call it something other than social media? Because it's such a double speak. It's such a terrible Orwellian term. Like, what would we call it? It you having like your emotions manipulated. It's mind control, really.
Mental
It is
imprisonment.
mind control. I think mind control
Mm,
is good enough. Like, it's
yeah.
that's what it is. Do I want an external force to program my reality? I think that's what it comes down to when you're saying, like, do I want some other people's, or not, like you said before, a lot of it could be AI, even, like, it's not even people.
Mm,
It's just a mass machine that's like, right, let's push this button and get this percentage of people angry because we know what they've looked at before and we know if they'll read that. And then
mm,
once people get connected to like the cloud and stuff, and if that transpires, it won't be obviously in our reality. We'll just be observing it, but
mm,
they'll know how to like push people's buttons and literally, I mean, I think we both agree on this. We kind of think we're in a um some kind of um energy extraction matrix, or at least that's what's been kind of overlaid on this
mm.
divine play, divine dream. So it's kind of just like it's a big part of that social media. So I think I need to ask myself, like every time I want to reach for it, every time my body mind goes, yeah, good, gonna go on Twitter, do you know, and
Mm.
it makes up a crappy excuse as well. You know, it's like, oh yeah, the football scores. You
Yeah,
know, there's always like a little hook in there to get you in.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, look at the football
yeah,
scores, and I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I see someone tweeting about something completely different from football, but it triggers a response to me, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I'm not so unconscious that I'll reply my egoic thought that comes back to it, do you know? But I'm
mm,
still on the app, do you know? I'm still
yeah,
hooked in. So
mm,
like you can unplug yourself from the matrix, but it's levels, do you know? It's absolute levels of it. And the first thing is, you know, realizing that you're not your thoughts, having that space from it, etc. And everything that comes into your mind, you don't need to say or tweet. Some people are in that level where they're just so
yeah,
polarized, they're like, oh, you know, so it makes them angry, and they can't hold that frequency, they
yeah,
can't
yeah,
hold the uncomfortable feelings. So they go, bleh,
yeah,
project. It goes boom onto the screen.
yeah.
Um,
I'd
but
say
there are
those people
definitely levels to it, aren't there?
when it all first came out, people would write on saying like, "Oh, I'm off to go
Facebook was
shopping.
brutal, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
going to
it's
bed
so
now.
funny.
Morning, everybody. I'm off to work now." And they would make announcements of what they were doing every hour. You just think, "Oh my God, really?"
I've just it's an NPC factory. That's what social media is. It's an absolute
Mm.
NPC factory. Just makes NPCs.
And the
Oh
other
my
thing
God.
about it as well, like what you were saying before there, is you'll click on something. So, or the other thing, you might talk to someone about something you want to buy or a certain product,
Mm.
and then you go on your social media or you'll go onto something and it's there. It's like there, it's been brought into because it's the AI has been listening to what you're talking about or what you want, and it's there on your screen. You say, "Oh, I was just like talking about that." Um, or you might look at something and you might hover over the screen because you think, "Oh, what's all that about?" And then you'll see it on another. So you might see it on Instagram, and then it'll be on Facebook, and then whichever one you go on, it's always there. Um,
Yeah.
so consumerism as well is a big thing to like pull people in because once you got them hooked, just it's like the whole thing with is it Timu, whatever it's called in China. That's the new craze, isn't it? Where people are buying stuff really cheap from China. Um, and yeah, that used to be all over. It's not as much now, but it used to be all over social media. Things from Temu, whatever it's called. Um, yeah, but so controlling, really is mind controlling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you can talk about like the knock-on effects for it because it's all part of the same system, you know, like you said, plays into well, we touched on it like narcissism as well, like having an external profile. Because I mean that's what the ego already is like an illusory character that we take ourselves to be in this world, right? This like physical reality. Then the ego projects itself into another like simulation, which is the the online world,
Mm,
and it's all based off of what other people think of you. Do you know? And it's
yeah.
yeah, it makes it's I don't know, there's something very not nice about it. And you see people now like and I see it with even like people around me, like my partner, like a lot of women. I guess it's because that women are kind of programmed to be that like attractive like flower, the male kind of like goes out and is attracted to them or whatever. That's kind of how the feminine works, right? It kind of attracts, isn't it? It's like that negative pull, and then the masculine is um the push out. Um, you see it with women how it's just completely. You get people going out to a meal somewhere they've seen on social media already, which is fine. Like, oh, that place looks nice. I'm gonna go there. But then they go there and then they're like thinking, and I can tell on my girlfriend sometimes, like, we'll go to a place, she's already thinking about the Instagram picture before the actual real experience,
Mm.
you know? And I'm like, babe, like, I get annoyed with you for like taking pictures and stuff. It's because of this, because that's something I can feel you're not being present,
Mm.
and they're not. We're not when we're thinking about um these things. We're living in a
Mm.
completely another simulation within the simulation. Like
I'll have to check
we
us in. That's the other thing. I'll just check us in. Just check it.
oh what
You go for a meal and you do your check-in on Facebook or whatever. Let everyone know where you're at. I'm just going, that's the other thing as well.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
It's narcissism. Like checking in for who? Oh, so
yeah.
they know that I'm having a nice time, and it's narcissistic as well, and making it and having people have think of good something. Oh, their life is so good or whatever. It's all trying to polarize their energy as well,
Mm.
like on an energetic level.
Yeah.
Because no one would ever like check into a restaurant and take a picture of something which is like a bad picture and post it
Mm.
on Facebook. You never like
No, no. Yeah.
unless you're doing it for like comedic effect, which you're
Yeah.
still like trying to suck energy from people and get reactions and likes and stuff. But you rarely find someone take like an ugly picture and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna post that on Facebook, yeah, because I want people to think
Or
this of me."
what's what was the rate my plate? And you used to see used to see all them plates of really, really hideous looking food look like cat shit on a plate, and you're just like, what the?
Yeah, so it's all it's kind of like what comes first, the chicken or the egg, like is
Yeah.
the narcissism come from that? Is it a product of just that dopamine and that we like being with social creatures and whatnot? Or is it the narcissistic ego is unconsciously collectively like dreamt this aspect of itself, you know? Kind of bit I guess it might be like uh Jungian way of looking at the world. But if you look at this reality as symbols and whatnot,
Mm.
the ego it must individually you kind of you see things and they mean different things for you, in
Mm.
your reality, like triggers different things about your perception of it, your ego's like individual perception. But like on a collective level, on an unconscious level, I wonder if that it's probably like you can't really say one or the other because it's a quantum
Mm.
reality, isn't it? So it's like
Yeah.
it's both.
Yeah.
Essentially. They're like cause and effect. They're both one of the same, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, that's the other way it gets used is it gets used where people will look at it and just think, it's a bit like TV where people look at it and they think, oh my God, what a wonderful house. Oh, what a beautiful family. Oh, they must have the perfect life. But in actual fact, they've probably got an absolutely awful life. But it's just it's the perception of the other of how they look at it, that's the other effect that it has. It pulls people in to think that they need to have this, they need to have that, they need to have the big car, they need to have the six children, they need to have like a 16-bedroom house with six bathrooms and and marble flooring and all this sort of stuff. You just think, oh, for goodness sake, get a grip.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's that mind control, isn't it? It's that
Mm.
from I don't know when it started with the TV, like the American Dream, like maybe in the 60s, 70s. That's like getting programmed into people. Yeah, this is the norm. This is the norm. And
Yeah.
now with social media, you can kind of you can take it anywhere really.
Mm.
It's kind of all it's strange because in a way there's more. I was going to say freedom, but I think I'll use the word variety because I wouldn't necessarily use the word freedom for it. but there's more
Mm.
variety of like reality tunnels you can get sucked into. But it all
Yeah.
comes back to it being like this. I don't know what the insidious force is behind like this reality. If you think it's like demonic things, or one of the guys I like a lot, who's on YouTube, who I watch, he's talks about AIX. I don't know if you've heard about RKX. I must have sent you a couple of his videos. He's very, very
Oh
good.
yeah, I've watched I think I watched one of the videos that you sent. Well, I got about sort of maybe about halfway through because it was a really long video. It was on for like about an hour and
Yeah,
50
he
minutes,
does.
something like that. I got about halfway through. Is that the big American guy who talks like so I was like really,
Yeah,
really
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
From
yeah.
the from Texas. He's yeah,
He
he's an
used to
absolute
be
vibe.
he was an inmate, wasn't he? He used to be in prison and then he did all this reading
Mm.
and research and started going deep into stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. He's very much into like it being a simulated reality with a divine aspect as well, but ultimately it's a simulated reality. It's very similar to like Matrixy kind of thing, where like the Agent Smith is like the virus thing that's
yeah.
kind of infiltrated and is kind of controlling and looking to like one escape the simulacrum itself
Mhm.
and also control divine beings inside it and use them as an energy source, like which are the humans represented in
Yeah,
the Matrix
yeah,
franchise.
yeah.
Um, yeah, man, a lot of it resonates very, very, very deeply with me. But yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that. I went off on a little tangent about the AIX, the controllers. Oh yeah, so it's energy. They don't care essentially. They don't care what belief system you have, as long as you have a belief system. As
Mhm.
long as it's polarized,
Yeah,
as long as
yeah.
you're polarized, do be anything but centered, be anything but actually what you are in reality, which is complete, and this is the spiritual aspect, which the archaics guy, Jason, doesn't really talk about these things much, but he kind of talks about all the evidence of this, but doesn't
Mhm.
talk directly about the centeredness and whatnot. But it doesn't care essentially. The AIX or the collective ego, or however you want to see it, it doesn't care as long as you're polarized, does not
That's
give a
that's really
monkeys, does it?
interesting that. What I was just feeling into that there when you said that and the whole aspect of it, the social media, the AI, the whole way the system works, they don't want you um they don't want you present, they don't want you in one like harmonious place. So then all the emotions, all the thinking, all the mind, all the oh I've got to have this and but I'm like this and I feel like crap and blah 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 and it has this sort of like sort of this vibrating thing on your energy and it starts to split you and split you and split you until you're like this and you're no longer in a central place you will just be easily swept wherever and it's got your energy because your energy is now split. It's split you into two things, two entities, and probably more than two entities really, because then you just want to follow whatever, you just get lost. You just go off whatever path you need to go down to get
Mhm.
that dopamine fix or whatever at that time. Yeah, so that's
Yeah, 100%, man. And we're seeing that with every aspect
mhm.
of it, like the genders as well. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's gone
Oh
like
man.
you're saying. It's like split. It's not just polarized like red or blue, male or female, and
No, no.
identifying with that anymore. Now that's
Yeah.
the ego, that the psyche is like split off into so many things. And say,
Mm.
I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, and I mean, it's sad because the uh, being experiencing that is experiencing a lot of suffering, clearly, because they're trying to find themselves in something in an illusion,
Mm.
you know. But it's really beautiful as well if you see it as like the reflection of truth,
Yeah.
because I could be speaking with someone who's we're both saying the same things, I might say like I am this, I am that, like this is what consciousness is. This is my nature. I am everything.
Mm.
But if you're seeing that, if you're experiencing that from a distorted frequency, if you're stuck in the lower kind of chakras, if you're not at the heart center being
Mm.
centered, and able to start to ascend and experience reality from a, more expanded perception, you're gonna like, oh yeah, I'm that. Social media says, gives you this. You don't even, they're unconscious to these things, of course, right? It's the
Yeah.
definition of they're not, the consciousness
Mhm.
happens when you start to move into the heart center, right? And you realize, oh
Yeah.
shit, like we're talking about this now. Oh, I'm addicted to this. Oh my God. You have an
Mm.
awareness of it. Um, but they don't even know this. There's just like
Yeah.
unconscious, we call them, NPCs, people who are like group think. Um, but it doesn't care. The bottom line is, he says, yeah, with AIX, he says it doesn't. I can't do his accent. I'll wait even. I can't do your accent. I don't. Won't be able to do a Texan accent. I speak 6 languages, but I can't do accents. What the hell? Um, he's like, it doesn't care what you believe in, as long as you believe in something, and like
Mm.
that, you give your essence away to that. You say yes. Like, and we're seeing it now, aren't we, with the Christianity people,
Mm.
as it's getting very fractured, like with
Yeah.
the leftist kind of the wokeism they call it, of like, I'm a dog, I'm a cat, I'm this gender, I'm that gender. People, instead of seeing it from a centered position and going,
Yeah.
okay, I see that, I see like it's coming from this, the fear or whatever, because they've not integrated it in themselves. They get
Mm.
pulled into the old paradigm, which was the religions. You've seen
Mm.
this more and more now, where people like are converting to Islam when
Yeah.
5 years ago they'd be like, "Nah, that's stupid, man. Why would I believe in that? It's a load of hocus pocus or whatever." But now they're seeing, like, they're getting a glimpse of the spiritual nature and like the demonic, satanic stuff. Because they're still in that fear paradigm. They've not integrated the root chakra enough to be able to realize like nature of themselves.
Yeah.
They get sucked into another paradigm of
Yeah.
finding safety. It's all about finding safety outside of themselves,
Mm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is, yeah. Oh, I love it. I think it's
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how it works. It is insidious and it is dark and it's not nice, but it's extremely interesting how it operates when you start to see it from an altered state of consciousness than just being um accepting of what it is and living it day by day and being victim to it. When you start seeing it from that angle, and you see like how it has the effects on people mentally and emotionally, and it can be quite damaging, to that. But again, that's all part of the game, is to make people not aware of who they really are. So yeah. Um, but I was watching a video from the guy that did my hypnosis training, and he'd said, why is it that people are going back to like religions? Um,
mm,
and the thing that he was talking about was quite interesting, because people are starting to become more um, spiritually aware, but they're still in that place of seeking externally. They're
yeah.
still looking for something else. So the kind of like they're moving in the right direction, and you've got to give them the chance, and you've got to give them the time to go through that process, but they're still looking for that external thing to come into their reality to save them. When in actual fact, that's already there. They just need to look back at themselves and see that they are Jesus, they are the Buddha, they are whatever they believe in, and that's already there within them. And they just need to be aware of the true self.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. It's all it, it all comes back to what we always talk about, it's the because that is the truth. Like that's the
Yeah,
sorry, but it's just
yeah,
you can decorate it and as much as you want. But that is it. So then I'm wondering, like, taking this as a construct, and people often talk about it being, some people say it's a prison, and some people say it's a school. The centered way to see it would be, well, it's both. From one perspective, I'm sure there are entities that feel that they are keeping people in here and they're feeding off their energy and whatnot, and they want to trap souls in here and whatnot. But it's also true that how else would one, as infinite consciousness, kind of know thyself in every expression possible? It seems like it's just it's a perfect divine play in a
Mm.
way, with no rhyme or reason. It's just that being the energy of Paul expresses itself out, polarizes itself, seemingly separates, and it is seemingly because it's never, consciousness is never separate. There is one
Mm.
being, and that is what everything
Yeah.
ultimately is. It's just different. It just gets blasted out, experienced even as energy, and then with that energy, you've got, wow, what
Mm.
a spectrum, or light. You could see it as that's the same difference. What a
Yeah.
spectrum you've got of light, of energy, um, that we
If you look at the
experience, and
whole, like,
that's when all the stories come in. You know?
yeah, if you look at the whole thing just as absolute divine perfection and paradise and love, if you just look at it
Mm,
all as that, it's going to balance everything out in between. So the
yeah.
places where you look at where you think,
Hmm.
oh, it's dark and it's demonic and it's heavy, and then you got the other side of the stuff that's like really positive and really light. You've got to have that. We are the fulcrum. We're the balancing act of that. So if we look at it all just as ultimate beauty and presence and love and perfection, however, what you may deem as being negative or positive, it just is, and it's happening for a purpose. It's happening for a reason. And we've just got to balance that, balance the mind, balance the body, come back into some sort of rational thinking within the energy, within your mental, your emotional, your spiritual bodies. And then you have a much clearer outlook of what is actually happening around you, within you, and how you're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, rather than just throwing shit at things and saying, yeah, it's all crap, and seeing it just from one angle.
Yeah. And you can't even necessarily change the thoughts. I always go like, well, the thoughts are a production of the of energy, so
Mm.
that's the bit you need to know as neutral.
Yeah.
If you know that all energy ultimately it's made of the same stuff, that's
Mm.
where you can, because people will hear you say that, like, about like peace and love. But the way we've been programmed, on one level, you could say the way we've been programmed is that peace and love good. Do you know? Anger and uh, violence or whatever, bad,
Mm.
bad. These are good or bad. Actually, they're perceiving it in duality. So it's
Mm.
still like a chasing towards love, and away from the perceived bad. The point is to bring it in and sit with the emotions, because that's all you truly, well, all you truly know. You don't know anything. You just are. But all you really know on this kind of level is the experience of an emotion is what? Like, it's a feeling, isn't it? It's a sensation in the body.
Mm.
That's the level you need to start if you want to, like, balance yourself. If you want to tap out of this game of duality, exit the matrix, however you want to see it. You've got to kind of become the matrix.
Mm.
You can't escape it. You have to
Yeah.
become it. Bring it back. Start reclaiming it. Start reclaiming your mental projections of seeming others, um, and whatnot. But that kind of level on the mental, I find, I don't know about how you kind of perceive this, but like the mental, the thoughts, the projections, and whatnot, they kind of are produced from the emotions. Like I think you
Mm.
have to go to the root, don't you? You've got to
Yeah,
really work with
yeah,
those energies.
yeah,
And then the thoughts and the way one perceives reality shifts. Like I don't know what would a good analogy be? It's kind of like it is like a prism, and you've got to clean certain bits.
yeah.
It's kind of, it's not futile trying to change projections, and I think
Mm,
it's a good and it's a healthy part of healing, isn't it? Like you heal on a gross level, like an energetic level,
mm.
but your mind might still have patterns of like judging people or thinking or whatever. So then to purify on that mental level is good as well. But it's kind of futile if you've got so much polarity inside your lower chakras, your energy field. Um, it's the area to work with,
Yeah,
I think. And then it becomes more and more subtle, right? Like you become more aware. Um,
yeah. It becomes gentler, or you, if you become more aware of it, it can actually sometimes become more extreme because you're actually more aware of it, and you want to sit with it, you want to be present with it. Whereas, if you want to just push it down, then just push it down, but it will fundamentally come back. But what I was thinking there as well, sometimes what will happen with us individually is what tends to happen is you will get the emotion, like what you were saying. The thought is usually the byproduct of the emotion. So you'll get the emotion, then you'll start thinking all the stuff. If you externalize that, what usually happens is the reverse. So someone will say something to you, which will create the thought, which then creates the emotion. So it's that two-way thing of how it happens. So you need to have a realization of where the actual emotion's coming from. Is it coming from an external, from somewhere else that you haven't liked what somebody said? Is it your ego that's come up and just wants to fight back at it, or is it coming internally? So that's the other balancing act, is understanding where it's actually coming from. Is it coming from your own being? Is it your emotions, or is it emotions that have been projected onto you from the external, which happens all the time, and it just builds up and builds up until you're in that place where you want to actually deal with it. So yeah, and again, social media is, or mind control, as we might want to call it now, it's perfect for that.
yeah.
That's what it does. It externally, it's firing things at you to create that thought, to then create that internal emotion of where you think you are, and just make it worse.
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful way to kind of bring it around full circle with the social media and yeah, mind control. I think we should. It is MK Ultra
Mm.
standard, really. Like they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, I guess who knows? They probably did have this technology, but they've just started, slowly started releasing it. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's proper. Yeah, it is mind control. So I guess the question, once one has that awareness, or what I need to do when I have that awareness of like, I want to reach my phone, I need to see it. Okay, do I want to subject myself to that mind control? You know, that's what it is. That's what it
Mm.
comes down to. Do I want to subject myself to that mind control?
Mm.
Take the conscious decision of, yeah, I'm going to externalize whatever is going on inside me, because there must be some pull. I think it'll be, I don't know which chakra is to do with so obviously the root one is uh safety, which could definitely be something that would pull one towards social media.
Hmm.
Um for me, if I try and intuit into it, if I try and sit into it, what's pulling me? I think it's the
Probably more sacral,
yeah. I
like
think the sacral,
your sort
which
of
yeah,
sexual, creative, that sort of pull energy, because the sacral and the third eye are very much interlinked with each other. So, and that's probably why you get the heady feeling up here as well, because you got the third eye connection of looking and taking all the stuff in. Then you've got the actual feeling, the gut stuff that's coming from it. Um, yeah, so it's probably a big two-way thing between the two centers energetically.
Yeah, that I think that's the one. Like you just, yeah, my kind of belly. I'm trying to feed into it now and be like, okay, well, what when I reach for that, when I reach for the phone, what is it giving me? You know, because that's another way of looking at addictions. You can kind of
Mm,
flip it on its head and be like, what is this giving me? What do I think I'm
yeah.
getting from this? I know I'm
Is there
not,
a
clearly,
pleasure?
else I
Yeah,
wouldn't be trying to get rid of it. Because I'm like,
yeah.
all right, I don't want this. But what it is giving you something. We have
Mm,
this with like relationships as well, with people who are in abusive relationships. As a therapist, a really good point to get to with someone is to get them start they ask themselves, what am I getting from this?
mm,
You know, what am I actually getting from this? And eventually they get to the part with, oh yeah, it's when I was a kid, there's a distortion in their energy field. But for them, they translate it into, oh, I was abandoned as a kid, so I just that's what I like, being with this person who's got a very avoidant attachment style and is, I'm always at risk of being abandoned in this relationship, or they're abusive
yeah.
or whatnot. So I think, yeah, what is this? What's this giving me? Um, so remind me then, with the sacral chakra, with that, what are the
So your sacral
is it?
chakra is like kind of it's your pleasure, it's creation, it's
Yeah,
sexuality, it's manifesting.
yeah,
So it's everything that makes you you basically, because your root chakra is like your survival instinct, your grounding, your stability. Sacral is all to do with, your sexuality, your creation, pleasure. Solar plexus is to do with like your confidence and your drive. So I think it's very much sacral energy that comes from that.
which would make so much sense, wouldn't it? With then the ego, like projection, the narcissism we see on it, the
Mm,
externalizing of that self, that
yeah.
then is the next um what's the right word for it? The next stage of that.
Mm,
The next part of that projection is yeah, look, oh, look at me, this is me. It's a complete disassociation from that that sacral chakra, complete
yeah.
disassociation from, and a projection of it. Yeah, this is me. This is who I am, and we in counseling we call it having an external locus of evaluation. Where your perception of yourself is a lot of the time 100% reliant on what other people around you think about you, or what you
Mm,
perceive them to think about you, which is the same
yeah.
thing. So that's why it comes into narcissism, and a narcissist has to, when it's very distorted, this energy, they have to control others for their own sake. They don't know who they are unless they can control people. It's very, very, very distorted,
Mm.
very, very distorted. But it comes from that. So that is wow. And you said it's linked to the third eye as well, which is the projection. Man, can you talk to me more about that? Like, what's the link? What's your feeling on
So,
the
so
link with the third
the
eye?
link
Because
between the
that's
two
resonating.
is like, so your sacral is it's obviously it's your creation and it's your passion, and it's that sort of it's like a cauldron of energy. And a lot of your Kundalini energy is there as well. And then you get a lot of this eruption of energy that comes up to the third eye. And when you're doing like kind of like psychic work, it tends to go between the two. So you go with this deep sort of inner feeling, the emotional feeling. So if you're connecting to an energy or a person's energy, you're connecting into their emotions, you're connecting into their feeling, and then you're going into that feeling like, right, what am I intuiting from that, which is your third eye. So you have this two-way connection between them. So it's very powerful connections between those two energy centers for sure.
I'm just gonna make notes of this. I might rewatch this back, you know. Like, oh, cool. This is cool, man. Isn't it funny how it works as well? The more we kind of speak, the more we kind of like vibe and whatnot, and
Yeah,
it's deeper and deeper and deeper, and you end up just it's like a little channeling session in the end, isn't it? When you get to a
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
certain level. So it's the sacral chakra then. What color is it, by the way? It's orange, is it?
Orange. Yeah, it's like the orange
Yeah.
one.
Check.
The
You
thing
want
is
to
as well,
here's
like what I was feeling at the
look at the
bottom as
color of my
well.
notebook. Look at the
It's
color of my
orange.
notebook. Bright orange.
Yeah.
Bright orange. And the pen's red. The other I normally have a black pen, but I can't find it. How funny is that? So the sacral connected to the third eye, which obviously is to do with the pineal gland, correct? Which is like the
Mm.
projector of our little movie that we're making, that I'm kind of
Yeah,
projecting
yeah.
and perceiving like the illusions.
Mm.
Um which wow, that's that one, and then the heart in the center, and then this one, and then the third eye. And that's like the I don't know too much about it, but I kind of have heard it's like reality, like it kind of goes filters through the pineal gland, and then we uh we
Yeah,
perceive.
yeah, it kind of it goes to where sometimes you just see images in the head, or you get sensations or feelings or emotions. They can come through the head as well into the pineal gland. So it's
Sure.
kind of like they do call it like your spiritual center. So it's where you intuit a lot of information, and a lot of the
Yeah,
information that filters through your energy body. It, yes, sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra. Again, you know that these sort of lower energies, it really helps you to connect deeper to um what you're feeling, because a lot of like your claircognizance, your deeper knowing, and your clairsentience, your deeper feeling, it comes from a lot of this in these internal energies, like, so like, oh, what am I feeling from this situation? So then you go into it, and then you start to, like, you either visualize it or you just have a sense of it. And I mean, they all work with each other on some level, you know. It's not just like
of
one
course.
does
Yeah, of
this, one does that, you know. So
course.
they all have a role to play. um but yeah, and I've watched a few mediums talk before, where they say very much so about the sacral and the third eye, how a lot of that information connects between those two centers, and I would pretty much agree with a lot of that as well, because it's just, you just feel it. um yeah, it's very much sensory thing, very very feeling. It's very very subtle as well, very subtle when you feel it, feeling into it.
This is so fascinating, man. This is so fascinating. Yeah, because I've heard, yeah, like with the pineal gland, it's literally what we're project like this reality. So I like, you know, they say like the kind of classic like manifestation and whatnot. You
Mm,
become what you perceive yourself to be. So that like sense of self, right, will come from that point. Obviously, like you said, they're all one of the same because it's all energy. But from the sacral chakra, then that's the most important thing. So there must be a link to that, and then the pineal gland
mm.
and the I don't know where thoughts would come into it. I guess the thoughts would come with the pineal gland as well, because they're just like
Yeah, but
they're perceptions, aren't they? The thoughts,
it's it's to do with
there's
the
no difference
feeling.
between this, yeah,
Yeah.
this and a thought. The only
Mm.
difference is the perceived, because you believe you're the thinker of the thought or whatever. It kind of interacts with your field there, doesn't it?
Yeah, because if you're
Thoughts are things.
yeah, if you're passionate about wanting to do whatever it might be, let's say for instance you're passionate about football and you want to become a famous football star or a football player, and you want to be on that high salary and have a big house or whatever, then part of that whole manifestation process is actually feeling what that would be like, feeling and imagining, so that feeling, that passion, that creation
Mm,
that you're feeling internally in your sacral chakra, and also like in your heart chakra as well, because you need to have that love, you need to have that emotion connected to it as well. And then seeing it and visualizing it and being it and living it, and then putting the action into it to actually create it into your reality. That's kind of like how it works on some level. Um, yeah, and having the clarity. A lot of people talk about manifestation as where you just say, you sit down and you say, right, I want to do this, blah, 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 and you think about it and you feel it and you see it and it's going to happen. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it than that. And plus, you don't know as well. You don't know the timeline. It might be something that you can have or will get, but it
mm,
might not be till 10 years time, 20 years time. You just don't know when it's
mm,
going to be, because you might have
mm.
things that you need to internalize and learn now. And if you get all that stuff now, you're not going to learn what you need to learn in the present. So there's a lot of that goes on as well.
Okay, let's take this then, the process of like manifestation, because that's what this all kind of is it's all manifest, or perceived as perceived reality, right? So we got then the heart chakra, because it's the center of the toroidal field. I think that's why when you said you've got to get your heart into it, all the aspects of acceptance, presence, being here now, feeling it
Mm.
now. So you've kind of got, we'll leave the root chakra for a moment, but we'll come back to that. I had a thought about that. So the sacral chakra, yeah, you said like to do with emotions and feeling and sense of self. Then you moved up into like the power one, which is what, the yellow one, which I forgot the name.
Solar plexus.
The solar plexus, sure. So that's
Um,
the moving into it, the action of it, I
mm,
guess, is related to that,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
So that's the power, actually moving the physical avatar and moving into it. Um, then the heart chakra is the complete acceptance of it. The more you accept and you're okay, you're like, "Ah, I have this all already. I am." Do you know that sense of I am everything already? This is it. It is done. That
mm,
acceptance, that unconditional love, that raises your frequency. What people traditionally talk about, like, yeah, raise your frequency, raise your vibration, man, you'll get things quicker. It's
mm,
true, but I think this is the actual mechanics of it, right? Because it puts your toroidal field goes boom, goes out a lot stronger. Sends,
mm,
like, imagine like when you're depressed and not feeling good, not confident or whatever, your toroidal field sends out the waves like eh, little
mm.
baby splashes,
Yeah, yeah.
which someone with a stronger thought form or whatever can just go whoop, smack that away. But if you're going whoa, whoa,
Mm,
reality cannot help but to respond to that, and then it goes woof, comes back to you because you're saying, "I'm good. I've already got this."
yeah.
And so the blocks people talk about with the manifestation process, there must be, like, we'll come back to the root chakra, to do with like safety and fear and whatnot.
Mm,
Um, I'm wondering, about that. Like people, and I don't, I agree with you in the sense that I think things happen when they're supposed to happen, and ultimately, like we as like this little individual ego doing all the doing is a complete fallacy. I don't believe that. I think it's all completely divinely orchestrated, and we're puppets basically
mm,
um experiencing a dream world. Um, but we talk about like getting in our own way, and like um, what's the word people use? Yeah, like blocking ourselves and
mm,
whatnot. And I guess one of the seemingly blocks to that could be in the root chakra, because if your sense of self in the next the sacral one would shift, that shifts your sense of safety as well. If your
Yeah.
sense of self is attached so strongly to your sense of safety,
Mm.
uh, it's going to be very difficult to move your sense of self and then to move the avatar to the power thing,
Yeah.
and then accept. Um, does
Yeah.
any of that resonate with you?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I mean, the root chakra is probably one of the most targeted, really, because it is pinnacle to everything. If you're not stable and safe and secure in yourself, then it's going to have an effect on everything. And that's why I've always said it is the most important. It might not be the most powerful, but it's the most important. Um, and things will only happen from a place of grounding, from a place of stability. If you're if you want to manifest, but your thoughts are erratic and you're all over the place and you can't focus, and you know it's not going to be clear. It's not going to be a clear feeling. It's not going to be a clear message. So it has to come from a clear conscience, clear awareness.
Yeah, without those distortions.
Mm,
And because you, I think the other mistake people make is like, oh, I can't manifest because of the blocks or this or that. Like you can't not manifest. Like you are, it is all manifested already. Do you know?
yeah.
Like it's all it, it's all a you can see it as like a projection of light. You know, it is all like this projection of light. It already is as it is. You just can shift your attention and
Mm,
then your energetic field, and then shift the show. You will only
yeah.
ever be what you are in reality, which is unconditional, just awareness, love, and whatnot. That
Mm,
is just what reality is. But in this dream experience, as to experience is to dream. That consciousness cannot, like we said before, it kind of like it has to split itself to know itself.
yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to know ourselves in this dream state as Pat and Ian having a conversation about like we're living in a matrix and how insidious insidious social media is, and
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to experience that unless we as consciousness would have
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
projected ourselves. But yeah, man, it's so beautiful, like talking on this level, and then just
Mm,
learning as you speak. That's the
mm,
way, isn't it? The best.
yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, yeah, yeah, the sacral. Um, yeah. So I guess the not the problem, but the thing people will try to manifest, don't they, and change their outer reality first.
Mm,
And it's not like it's a mistake either, by the way. It's a very natural process in development of whatever this seemingly is, of how the
yeah.
energy kind of you first like, I'm a person in the world, I don't like the world, I'm a victim. Then eventually you're like, I'm a person. And man, it's mad how it's moving up the chakras, isn't it? The
Yeah.
consciousness. To start off like I'm a complete victim, um, very like low frequency, things happen to me. Then you get up into the sacral one, um, where what are the kind of things associated with the sacral one, like thoughts and
Yeah. It's like um,
see if I can pull up.
depending on what your drive is, you might be stuck into um, like the sex aspect of things, that the egoic side of sex and sexual activity, and all that sort of stuff, so you'll be kind of like fixated on those sort of um I suppose primate pleasures, really, of just being stuck in that reality, and not going beyond that to a more harmonious place of love and acceptance and finding pleasure, suppose from the internal rather than the external. It's always like an external game with that, and trying to seek the pleasure, the creativity, and that level of things from an external, and trying to bring that into the reality to make you feel happier, to make you feel better, to make you feel, yeah.
Could you let me share my screen and we'll just get the map of consciousness up so we can show people. Can you click so I can, if you're able to do that? 'Cause it says I'm not allowed to.
Try that.
If anyone is, if anyone is indeed watching until this point, if you are, drop us a like and subscribe. We forget to, we forget we're being recorded, don't we? We just end up just going on rants. Yeah, epic. I'm on. Okay,
Yeah.
cheers.
And here we see.
Cool. Yeah, so there it is. That Bosch. So these are the. It's just crazy how it's all. Well, I mean, it's crazy and it's not really because it's all one. It's all the one. So obviously, even as seemingly separate, the reality is ultimately going to be experienced in fractals. So it's going to be like it's reflected everywhere in it. Where we've talked about this before in past bits. Um, so yeah, it's just mad, isn't it, how you get to shame, guilt, um, fear, grief. Yeah, so the fear. Yeah, interesting. So the fear. I always thought fear was more to do with the bottom one, but I guess well, it's same
It's all
difference, really,
physical,
isn't
though,
it?
isn't it? Because
It's all
fear,
kind.
fear on some
Yeah,
level has an effect on your confidence, so it'll have an effect on your solar plexus.
yeah.
Your grief, as well, that'll have an effect on that on that level, but it'll all affect you physically on some level. And as you start to move up, you become more in tune with the higher feelings,
Mm.
the higher emotions.
It is that, isn't it? It's just a consciousness tuning itself, becoming aware of itself. Obviously, the self-awareness, which kind of can come in. Maybe it kind of come in at this stage, would you say? Or kind of come in anywhere. You can kind of realize things, and I guess yeah, the self-awareness is always there,
Yeah.
right? But then yeah, I don't know when like the personal development. Oh, that's what I was gonna yeah talk about the like feeling I'm a separate person, like that is my number one identity. I think it starts to maybe gets broken just as you move up into, I'd say, just above here.
Mm.
Would in the
You'll probably start
ah
seeing a
look
bit
this
split.
yeah, like the I call it like the personal development, the improver kind of
Mm.
stage where consciousness is like, oh, okay, I don't want to be a victim. Like, so here down here would be like the victim
Mm.
mentality, right? Like, woe is me. Um, and then you kind of realize, nah, bollocks this. I want to change my life. Then you start to realize, oh, the law of attraction kind of stuff. I can create my reality, right? By thinking about different things and whatnot. And you want to do that because you as a person want to have a better life
Mm.
and improve yourself. And then you start to realize up here you have this. I think the green, like the heart chakra, is where the spiritual awakening comes in, right? And you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
wow, I'm not. I don't know who I am. That's when the dark night comes in, because then you
Yeah.
get
Well,
all of
that's it.
these like,
It sometimes knocks you back down. It knocks you back down into that sort of sense of security, and because you start questioning everything, so you start going back down again. But you have to go down to come back up.
yeah, yeah, it's yeah, you. I don't, yeah, you go back down. I see it more as like the things come up, you know? They come up to the light. They come up to be seen by you. As you kind of you expand up like this,
Mm,
there's more like space. If you're like that, you're just like a ball of just like suffering, don't know yourself, da, 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 and then you just start to expand like that. And the boy with every level of expansion, as we've
mm,
talked about before, there's like say like myself, because I'll have be like on a high like that. I know full well, although I'm not like consciously thinking about it, but I'm aware of like, okay, there'll be something that might come up from my unconscious that wants to be seen. And it
mm.
may even be like a repetitive thought I've had before, which I've kind of half integrated. Have you had
Yeah.
that before? Where you kind of have like, yeah, kind of deal with like the big chunk of the energy, but then there's still
Mm,
some residual kind of stuff, and it comes up in like cringy moments that
yeah. Or like
you're
little
thinking about
waves.
happened in the past.
Mm.
Second,
Little,
or in
like
waves, yeah, yeah, yeah,
little waves will come through. Yeah. Mm. Yeah,
exactly.
it's interesting, isn't it? Really interesting. It's interesting how it affects us individually, for sure. I know, like when I was going through a lot of stuff back in the early days, and I went through a lot of the suffering and mental health and addiction and all that sort of stuff. And then you start to sort of you start to see started meditating, you start to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, then you start like going back into it again, and you have to go through so much, so many waves of going up and down before you eventually kind of like rewire your brain into a new level
Mm,
of consciousness, of awareness, to be able to understand what's going on. And it took me a long time to really understand what was going on internally. And it was only through um like speaking to more people and speaking to other healers about it that it made us think, right, okay, so that's what I'm feeling, that's why I'm experiencing that. Because then when you get to actually say these things and talk about it and open it up, it like you say, it shines more light onto it, so you have a clearer understanding of what it is and what's going on.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that kind of comes back to my point of it being ultimately, I think it is you kind of the consciousness expands and it realizes how everything is at least interconnected. Maybe not that it's all one, the
Mm,
being, but like it's all interconnected. At least you kind of realize, like you said, like other beings kind of we help each other, and like
mm,
we all walk each other
mm.
home. Do you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I like that expression. We walk each other home. That's nice. Yeah.
yeah, it's who was it that said that? Oh, I heard Ram Dass, I think, said that.
Mm,
We're all walking each other home. It is, yeah. It's beautiful on every level, do you know? Even if you think you see like with separate, seemingly separate beings and whatnot, and like you see something that either triggers me or inspires me. Either way, like you're doing
mm,
God's work, like
yeah,
because you can't not do God's work because that's
yeah.
what you are. And that's why it's just ultimately you kind of the more of it you do, the more you realize, oh wow, it's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's just incredible. And yeah, and my expansion or kind of experience of it and the thought, the realization was it's all experience. It's just experience. Like that's all
Mm,
you can't really say anything true, but it's experience, experiencing experience. That is
mm.
all. Like which means nothing to most people, but to me it means something. And that's another thing,
Yeah.
you'll end up saying stuff that a few months ago or certainly years ago you've been like, what the fuck is he talking about? I'm sure you've had the experience of like reading the Eckhart Tolle book. It's such a
Yeah.
beautiful example. Everyone has like the power of now. I remember reading it first time and I was like, yeah, this feels true, but don't fucking have a clue what he's talking about. Like, what is he talking about? And now I
Yeah,
read it and I'm like, oh, that's entry level that's
yeah,
entry level stuff. Like, of course I'm not my thoughts. How could I be something I perceive? That's insanity,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. Man, what a ride. What a chat.
Beautiful. We'll wrap it
Two,
up on that, shall we?
2 hours nearly we've been going on for. I might
Yeah,
have to
we'll wrap it
edit
up.
this into 2 videos. One about social media and one about manifestation.
Oh, yay, perfect.
So I could do that, couldn't I? I could edit it into two
Yeah.
videos. Yeah. So, right, I'm gonna have to go because
Yeah, man. Oh.
my back's gonna stop working if I don't get up.
Yeah, no, I need to eat some dinner. It's nearly 10 o'clock. I'll let you know.
Oh, you need to eat,
Damn it,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'm gonna stop this
Yeah,
here.
man.
I'll just press stop and then yeah. Okay.